Hi, I'm Rick Kaler. Thanks for joining me. How long do you expect to live? In last week's video, um, I talked about people who start Social Security benefits at age 62 and explored what happens to be a common belief shaping that decision. Many people apparently assume they won't live long enough to reach their break-even age, which is the point at which the total benefits received starting early would be equal to those received starting later. Yet the Social Security Administration suggests that even the average mortality age is 7 to 9 years beyond the break-even age, meaning many people will live significantly longer than they expect. So that begged the question to me, why do people so consistently underestimate their lifespan? Their thinking is influenced by something that I call money scripts, which are beliefs that we have about money and how it works. Also by their financial circumstances, stories that they make up about how things are, and emotions that drive their cognitive biases, or cognitive bias is a mental shortcut. So let me give you some examples. There's something called an availability heuristic. This is a cognitive bias or a shortcut. We often rely on immediate examples that come to mind when considering a specific topic or a decision that we're looking at making. For example, the untimely death of a family member or friend, media coverage of premature deaths. These are more memorable and emotionally more impactful than, say, the uneventful deaths of people living well into their 80s and 90s. So this may encourage people to overestimate the likelihood of dying young. Another one is optimism bias and pessimism bias. These are our tendencies to believe that either positive or negative outcomes are more likely for ourselves than others. So pessimism bias, which shapes my own thinking, is what my wife describes as going to the dark side. And it happens almost involuntarily. It can foster a bleak view of one's health and longevity. This bias can also cause us to overemphasize personal experience and family health histories that suggest the possibility of shorter lifespans. Now, I ask somebody that has a pessimism bias, if they have a pessimism bias, they'll probably tell you, no, I'm just realistic, which is my answer. Another one is present bias or temporal discounting. We tend to give stronger weight to payoffs that are closer to the present time than those in the future. This bias can make the immediate financial gain of taking benefits at 62 seem more attractive than the delayed but larger benefits at 70. In fact, at 62, I believe you get 70% of what you'd get at 67. And at 70, you get 124% more than what you'd get at 67. So there's a huge difference in benefits between 62 and 70. The certainty of the smaller payment now, say at 62, can outweigh the larger payments later, say at 70, even though waiting would be more beneficial in the long run. The anchoring effect, this is when we often rely too heavily on the first piece of information encountered, hence the anchor, when we're making decisions. So learning that 62 is the early eligibility age for Social Security benefits may anchor someone on that age as 62 as the appropriate time to apply without fully considering the financial benefits of waiting. It then becomes difficult to pull up the anchor and adjust plans based on new information, such as the fact that 57% of people at age 62 will live longer than the break-even age of 78. Another is status quo bias, which is a preference for the current situation, where changes from this baseline are perceived as a loss. So someone who has focused on 62 as the ideal retirement age will resist altering their retirement plans even when they learn that delaying would be in their best financial interest. Finally, and ironically, it's possible that one reason people underestimate their life expectancy is our reluctance to talk or think about death. Given how hard it is to discuss old age care options and estate planning, maybe we simply just can't imagine our own final years well enough to think really clearly about providing financially for them. Yet, failing to think about living into our 80s and 90s can have significant negative financial implications. A lot of people who opt to take Social Security early are trying to get the most return possible from their lifetime of work and the taxes they have paid into the system. Yet, given the difference between our assumptions and the statistics about life expectancy, early filing can result in exactly the opposite. Thanks for listening.